coming over to a change this morning. Just to remind councillors before I start that we will be having a plan for earlier lunch today because we'll all been invited to go and meet with the Minister for Police and Emergency Services. Started earlier. He'll be here at the fire depot to hand over the keys for some units there. And Celia and I and the Deputy Mayor thought it was good that all councils should go over and meet David. We're only glad when the bushfires are on, so it'll be good to say that. So that's it, that's where we're heading. This meeting will be recorded.
Yep.
This meeting will be recorded based on council's website for the purpose of broadening knowledge and participation in council issues and demonstrating council's commitment to openness and accountability. All speakers must ensure that comments are relevant to the issue at hand and to refrain from making personal comments or criticism or mentioning any private information. No other persons are permitted to record the meeting unless specially authorised by council to do so. For opening prayer, we give thanks for the contribution by our pioneers and early settlers, for those who taught the various wards of the fabric of Tenterville community we have today. May the words of our mouths and the meditation of our hearts be accepted by sight, O Lord. Amen. Acknowledging the country, I would like to acknowledge traditional custodians of this land that we're meeting on today. I would also like to pay respect to elders past, present and emerging of the Yuckabull, Kamilaroi, Bundjalung nations and extend that respect to other Aboriginal people. Councillors, there's no apologies. Any disclosures or declarations of interest? No? Councillors, our first item is the minutes of our previous meeting held November the 25th. Would someone who was in attendance at that meeting like to move that they are approved and correct record of that meeting? Councillor Tom Grogan, thank you. Second, please. Councillor Tom Peters, I thank you. All in favour? Again? No tabling the documents, councillors. Urgent and late supplementary items, councillors. We do have some late addendum items. The first one is addendum is item MN4/20. It's a Merrill minute. And there's another item there, GOV 101/20. The other addendums, items GOV 100/20. Can I have a move in a second to accept those items as late item of business? Councillor Greg Sawyer, thank you. Second, please. Councillor Michael Peter, thank you. All in favour? Again, carried. Community consultation, we have none. Merrill minute. I accepted the resignation of our Chief Executive, Mr. Terry Dodds, Tuesday the 15th of December 2020. I, Mayor Peter Petty, hereby move the following Merrill minute at this ordinary meeting, Wednesday the 16th of December. Although it comes as a shock to all of us that our Chief Executive, Mr. Terry Dodds, has resigned from his position with Tenterville Shire Council, I wish to speak of his achievements in the past 3 years. On Terry's arrival, his first priority was to implement a new organisational structure and link the accountability of all staff to the 4-year delivery program. His work in achieving this was recognised in the Tenterville Shire Council winning the Macquarie University 2009 Voice Project Change Challenge. The Timber Bridge Replacement Program was the next big challenge, and I was proud to work together with Terry to lobby both state and federal governments for funding to achieve the replacement of 24 timber bridges during the past 12 months. A massive achievement for our infrastructure staff. The drought and bushfires created severe water issues in Tenterville, and Terry was instrumental in sourcing more water to help secure water to supplement the water supply and working to gain the funding through state government to finance this project. This work resulted in Tenterville receiving the RHW award, reporting to your community drought management. Sealing of most roads council ever achieved and continued lobbying to gain funding to seal all of the Mount Nancy Road, together with the completion of the upgrade of the Woodmont section of the Mount Nancy Road, council's biggest project today. Terry was able to build great rapport and respect for both our state and federal members for the betterment of this community. I was always confident while attending these meetings, as I did the political stuff and Terry did the technical part. We worked together as a good team. Sure. Although disappointed at Terry's departure, he leaves this organisation in good stead, and his footprint is firmly embedded in the many projects we have completed and are currently ongoing. I wish him well in the future, and know he'll always be interested in progress of Tenterville Shire. I move that amendment. I will ask for a second, please. Councillor Sawyer, thank you for a second. Thank you. Recommendations to be considered in the confidential part, councillors. We do have part of the confidential and they are items. EC 023/20, COM 36/20, EC 024/20, and EMP 24/20. Can I have a move in a second to deal with those 4 items in confidential, please? Councillor Terry Berry, I thank you. Second by Councillor Brian Murray, I thank you. All in favour? Against? Carried. Councillors, in your hard copy, move on to page 25. In your hard copies, item COM 33/20, Tannenville Chamber of Tourism Industry Business request for further contributions to support the Peter Allen Festival. Can I have a move in a second to get through this item, please? Councillor White, thank you. Second, Councillor Bob, thank you. And I'll hand over to our CEO to present this.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, Harry's here to present.
I apologise. Harry?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Good morning, councillors. The purpose of this report is to provide council with information to make an informed decision in relation to making a further contribution to support the Peter Allen Festival. Recommendations are there for you, councillors. It reasonably clear, I think. So, just like by way of background, council allocated the remainder of the Empowering Our Communities grant, a sum of $10,000 to the Peter Allen Festival Committee in recognition of their committee support and loss as a result of the 2019 drought impacted event, and the vital support that this event provided for mental health of the community. Council received further correspondence from Tennfield Chamber of Tourism Industry and Business on 14th October 2020, advising that council is one of 3 outstanding creditors and requesting assistance by contributing fees for the outstanding debt that are attached to this report. Friday, 6th of September 2019, Tennfield experienced devastating bushfires that impacted on the Peter Allen Festival to the extent that many festival attendees were unable to attend due to road closures, continued fires and poor weather conditions. This resulted in the event running at a significant loss. In November 2019, the new board of the Chamber was installed and administration of the Peter Allen Festival Association accounts was assumed. The board has worked diligently over the past 12 months to honour outstanding debts in excess of $20,000. It is the intention of the Tennfield Chamber of Tourism Industry Business to continue producing this event for the community of Tennfield, and the Chamber believes this festival will become a key tourism and economic driver for Tennfield. As previously mentioned, $10,000 from the Empowering Our Community grant was paid to the Chamber on 12th of March 2020 as per the resolution.
Thank you, Harry. Councillors, the recommendation, officers' recommendations there. Questions to Harry or any other staff members to do this now? Councillor Bob Ryan.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor, through you, Harry. So just to sum that up, we're basically talking about
Right up to debt, so for the, as one of the councillor, the road closure, hire of the hall is this law, and skip in service and park hire for the event. The park hire was the park.
Councillor Bromwich.
Yes, thanks, Harry. We just forego the, but it does come off that bottom line. Makes it our financial thing that we don't have any. So in other words, we wouldn't chase the debt that we will.
That's correct.
To you, Mr. Mayor, I didn't hear what Councillor Christie said.
So I just said,
Sorry, Councillor Bromwich.
sorry, Brian, there's 3 options there. I said if we go to option 1, where it says contribute the sum of, where it's more that we're foregoing getting that money back, which is an outstanding debt at the moment. Notwithstanding the fact that Paul told us at the last meeting that we don't have much money to spare. So it's a bit like we can't go.
In the recommendation, council, so we're all clear, there's 3 options there. I'm just talking, I'll come back to you, Councillor. So the 3 options are there, so be aware of that, and that's how the recommendation will be. When we go, we're going to choose one to get through. Okay, if you want to speak, Councillor.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. Could there be an expectation that council will continue to finance this project in perpetuity?
The festival, you mean,
Yes,
through the chamber.
through the chamber.
Good question.
Sorry, councillor, I didn't follow your question. You repeat the question, Rob?
Um,
Could you repeat the question, please?
Oh, sorry, yes. Well, what I'm saying is there an expectation, or could there be an expectation that council will continue to finance this project in perpetuity?
Thank you for the question, councillor, and I believe under this chamber that we currently have, the administration that's there, that they do not believe, or they do not expect council to continue funding the festival in the future. They believe that the festival is quite capable of standing on its own 2 feet. They're putting in some measures at the moment to ensure that there's better accountability and ensuring that the festival is designed to fit the community. So I don't believe in the future that they will become the council support system in that regard.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Brown, yes. A question to the report or?
Yeah, just, and for that further information, going forward, like, it's really good to hear that the chamber intends to continue with the festival. And, because we know other towns have wanted to have a bigger festival too, but we didn't speak to it. I mean, in the future, I think we should be quite open to things such as foregoing the car hire, which is a minimal fee, you know, things like that, because if one of our goals is to support events and community get-togethers and tourism, and I think this is there's a lot of merit to it if we get back to the Peter Allen music or the associated music and things like that. So anyway, for my 2 bobs, I'm happy to support number 1.
Well, I will close the debate or question on that, councillor, but I do want to comment. I feel that at this stage of the game, with the new board, they are trying really, really hard. We need a strong, resilient and successful business chamber. And I feel that we have that at the moment. They're trying really hard to deal with the debt from that previous Peter Allen Festival. The fire and that devastating day was no one's fault, nature. And that was the death knell of that. So it couldn't run towards fulfilment over the period that it was there. The relationship that this council has formed through our CE, Harry, and I wanted to attend a couple to make councils all aware. We have a debrief with the chamber every month to share with them what went through this business paper, because it's really important that the chamber is aware of what's going on with our council, because they are every bit part of what we do. So that relationship is very strong. I feel like, and I'm not trying to sway anyone, I'm going to take Councillor Norman Petry's suggestion that we're supporting number 1. I fully support that. I feel it's the least we can do to help them out, and it helps foster that relationship in the future. Did you want to comment, Mr. Secretary?
Yeah, through Mr. Mayor, the risk that council has with this, the chamber informed Mr. Bolton and myself of the last month's debrief, Mary.
Yes, it was.
They've got less than $10,000 in the bank. If council doesn't wipe this debt, this will actually put them into liquidation, and they have to wind up and then start again as a new chamber, because the other one will be broke. And that will put a lot of extra stress and anxiety on the board, which is just trying to pick up and get a bit of a run up. So it wouldn't do them a lot of good.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. What I do, Councillor Norman, you're happy to, with the cap officer's recommendation that council supports number 1, we contribute the sum of $8,590.31 towards the balance owing the 2019 Peter Allen Festival for Road Closure Hall Hire Skipping Service Parkway. Can I have a second, please? Councillor Carey Berry. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you, Councillor. We move on to page 29, councillors. In your hard copy, it's item COM 34/20, Benefit War Memorial Master Planning. I can move the second to deal with this, please. Councillor Berry, thank you. Second by Councillor John Forbes, and I thank you. And I'll hand over to Holly or Hyde. Hyde, welcome as always.
Thank you very much.
the trip from our refurb chamber down to here was a nice one.
Very pleasant.
Very good.
Lovely.
Okay, so I'll hand over the line to present this report.
Thank you.
Councillors, you do have in the attachments, those plans for the master plan for the pool, be aware of that. Over to you, Lloyd.
Thank you. So the summary of this report is to present the draft master plan and feasibility study of the Tennant Memorial Park for council consideration. The plan is to provide guidance and a direction for council staff with regards to the development and future maintenance. On 16th of March, RMP and Associates, in conjunction with Donovan Payne Architects, were engaged to complete the master plan and feasibility study of the Tennant War Memorial Bar, the swimming pool facility. The brief included the review of previous reports to undertake community consultation and meetings with stakeholders, and meeting with council to provide elected representatives with an overview of the changes that have occurred in the aquatic centre design and operation since the original pool was officially opened on the 27th of November 1964. The concept plans reflect the input of councillors, other stakeholders, and the expectations of the community that were identified in community meeting. The cooperation and comments of the current pool operator have also been appreciated. RMP and Associates presented the concept plans and high-level costings at a council workshop on the 17th of March this year, highlighting specifically current New South Wales Health Department and DDA access requirements and how they have been achieved in each of the concept plans. The outcome of that meeting was the support of option 2 concept. A further council workshop was held on the 14th of October this year, where interest for option 1.1 was also considered a desirable option. Staff have recommended option 2 for consideration as per the reasons outlined in this report. The draft master plan and feasibility study is to identify the benefits of improving the facility, to grow attendances and to provide quality programs throughout the swimming pool season, and to provide direction for the ageing complex. Council recognises that the construction of any of the concept options at this stage is not feasible due to the cost. It is anticipated that funding will be required to move the complex in the direction of the chosen master plan option, and ongoing increases in annual revenue to fund the operation and non-operational costs of the facility will need to be considered for any planning implementation. So we've got option 2, which is the new integrated indoor program leisure pool, new change facilities, entry cafe, new 8-lane 25-metre pool, and family leisure pool. Option 2 is the full master plan that includes all the identified needs of stakeholders and the community and optimises the space on the existing site. It also makes best use of the aspect of the site and integrates new modern change rooms with both the indoor program hydrotherapy pool and the new entry and reception cafe. The design allows for the best option of the pool for an all-year-round facility, as the facility can be divided into 2 and operated as an indoor facility during the cooler months and an indoor-outdoor facility in the warmer months. The indoor heated program hydrotherapy pool adjacent to the new entry allows all-year operation of this pool. The 25-metre pool would operate for 6 months of the year at 27 degrees, and the program pool indoors all year at about 33 degrees. The pool layout is simple and takes advantage of the contours of the site to provide tiered seating to 2 sides of the 8-lane competition and 25-metre lap pool. A new modern plant room is proposed with the removal of the gravity sand filter and high-speed sand filters, dry chlorine dosing and a combination of gas boilers and heat pumps, with separate plant for the new 25-metre pool and new family leisure pool. The new plant room would meet the New South Wales Health Department guidelines for water turnover and disinfection. A first aid room and staff facilities and swim club area is included in the concept design. There are 2 spacious storage areas for the pool equipment, and a gym can be located on the site to attract additional users and generate revenue. The gym is considered important with the indoor program hydrotherapy pool in all year operation. The small gym fitness centre is in line with the initiative of the current operator to provide this facility with a membership and casual use option. The location of the gym and its size will need further development with stakeholders in line with its proposed operation, as it may require 24/7 access from the car park. The integration of this pool concept has a strong relationship with the park, with views from the indoor pool. Provisions for the creation of 20 new car park spaces with 2 disabled parking spaces has been made to the new entry. Option 2 is a new facility replacing the existing pools, plant, grandstand and amenities building with entry. The design integrates the pools, the new facility on the site in such a way to optimise the presentation of the complex to the New England Highway, while at the same time making a strong connection to the adjacent park. The design of the amenities building and plant room provides a windbreak to the 25-metre pool and also uses the change in level across the site to provide the tiered seating around the 25-metre pool. There is a change in level between the new car park and the pool entry and concourse level, which is overcome by a ramp to meet the DDA requirements for access. At the entry, the design features an integrated cafe and reception with a good line of sight over the indoor program hydrotherapy pool and the outdoor leisure centre and competition pool. A cafe eating seating area is located adjacent to the entry and allows for external service to the park users as well as the pool users.
Hi, can I offer something, and I say this with respect? All those councillors are pretty good readers of things, so as much as you enjoy presenting some trouble, save you a little bit of time. If you read the first paragraph of option 1.1, I reckon that embraces this report pretty well. And you happy to take questions then?
Yes.
Okay. Happy there, councillors? Okay, thank you. I apologise, I just need to, just cherry pick it.
Option 1 is the new indoor enclosed program hydrotherapy pool with a lap pool and family leisure pool and new entry. So it retains the existing change rooms, which would be refurbished, but creates a new entry with adjacent parking and disabled access ramp to the reception. The new entry and reception cafe and the demolition of the grandstand allows the pool to relate to the park and the New England Highway, with parking for disabled users and users close to the entry. Additional parking has been provided adjacent to the proposed gym and at the intersection of Peachtree Street and the park access road.
Yeah, happy to, Colin, did you want to speak?
I was just going to say,
By all means.
the interesting part there's been a bit of backwards and forwards conversation about 1.1 or 2.
Yep.
The difference is the orientation is taking wind from the reorientation of the entry building across the site and making use of those natural features for your tiered seating. And obviously too, we are going out to exhibit this and to seek comments, and I'm sure that we'll get a bit more feedback once councillors have decided which their preferred option is, the recommendations do, because it does tackle a couple of those issues.
Okay. So Heidi and Colin, happy to take questions to the report. Questions to Heidi or Colin to do with the report, councillors? I'll go to you, Councillor Peters first, then Councillor McNish, then you, Councillor Braun.
Thank you, Mr.
Councillor Tom.
Quick question to Heidi. Is it necessary? So I've been to hospitals where people got infections, they go into the hydrobaric school, and the water's got to be monitored and changed regularly, so it's a very large cost. needs to be monitored very closely. Is it necessary in a small town like Canterbury?
That's a question for the councillors.
I guess the hydrotherapy has dual purpose as well, because they are proposing that they can do between classes and programs and use that heated water in those instances as well. And I guess the feedback we have received in the community is that it would be desirable.
Councillor Mish.
Yeah, just a quick one, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Quick one, I know you mentioned it in your report, Heidi, but I think we've got to put up the very top of the report in big writing. There is no funding for this at this stage. If we're going to look at the plan, I should, that's a beauty, yeah, good. And without looking at the fine print, I think I've put up so they know it's only a concept plan at this stage. And that will stop anyone sort of going and whinging about us. Has there been enough information?
Councillor, can I speak to that? In your officer's recommendation, this is the only way that, my thoughts and how I read things. It's got no option 2 in the plans to provide for future work that any option contained in the plans are outside the capacity of council. The fund initial works or ongoing costs associated with such a large community asset.
I acknowledge that, Mr. Mayor, when I started off, but I think it's made to make it very, very clear at the top of the report.
Yep.
So there's no confusion whatsoever.
Okay. I'll go to Councillor Rowan before I do, the CEO responsible comment. I'll come back to you, Councillor Rowan, and you, Councillor Sawyer.
Through Mr. Mayor, you may have seen on TV about 2 or 3 weeks ago, the acting Chief Executive Officer of Armidale and the Administrator of Armidale Regional Council commenting they couldn't afford to run their hydrotherapy pool. And Armidale's got a population that's probably 7 or 8 times bigger than Tenterfield, and they can't afford it. So I mentioned that.
Councillor Bromwich.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Heidi and Charlie. I did like the layout of 1.1, but I do appreciate the pointing out the fact that the change rooms would be in a different place to the other floor and that kind of thing. And I like the parking all being together in option 2. I'm just wondering 2 things. Seeing as that parking is there near the park, would that parking be confined if we ever get the funding? Would that be confined to pool patrons in working operational hours? And secondly, the size of the change rooms are considerably less in option 2 than in option 1.1. If we're actually getting more patrons, is that then an issue? The reduction in size?
I don't know how we haven't really, with regards to the car parking, we haven't worked out how we would work it operationally, because this is purely just a concept plan, so it hasn't been identified if we would designate it or how it would be run. In relation to the fitting rooms and the change rooms, there's been a recommendation by a consultant that deals with redeveloping pools and building new pools all the time. So I've taken on board that that's their recommendation, and it would be suitable. Just
One probably other comment, if I may, this is an overall strategy and master plan for the site. It's not detailed design. It's not down to how we operate car parking. It's not down to the size of the change rooms, number of toilets, those types of things. It's that general what we're looking at, and we would take that on board as we need 4 change rooms if we were doing a detailed design, or as the infrastructure starts to fail there. What we're trying to weigh up is whether or not we're better off fixing the existing stuff, or whether we're creating a rod for our back later before trying to move it to us.
Well, it's just that in the design there, you can see there's limited room where you can put things. So that was my concern, was that those changes have lost size. How long would it take, just so we can get it? We actually have to close it for season to rebuild. At least. And I think as per what John said, this is aspirational when it goes out.
Councillor Sawyer, then I'll go to you, Councillor Berry, then you, Councillor Fawkes. Councillors, please indicate if you wish to question for the report. Councillor
Thanks,
Sawyer.
Mr. Mayor. It's a comment, not a question.
Accept that.
I'm happy to endorse the officer's recommendation to put it on front of the exhibition. As Councillor McNish said, it's a plan. We've got to start somewhere. We have to have a plan. I think this is the best option, in my opinion. Not that I'm an expert on pools, but You have to start somewhere with a plan, you send it out to the public, get their feedback and move forward. There's a couple of things in there that you and I have discussed that we need to be careful in there about the gym part, that we'd be setting up a business in direct opposition to an existing business, so. But that's at the bottom end of the scale. The broad concept is we come up with a plan, we put it out to the public, back it, take on board the public's input, and then proceed and try and find some money to pay for it.
Councillor Berry, question to the report.
Yeah, couple of things to comment.
I'll allow that, councillor.
A comment about the gym. Maybe the gym could be hired out separately to the pool. The hydrotherapy, maybe we should be looking at New South Wales Health, if there's such a thing left, to actually fund a hydrotherapy pool, because we're an ageing population. I think it is necessary, or becoming more and more necessary, for a population like Tenterfield. And the other question is, the heating of the pool. Given the political leaning of the world at the moment to get away from CO2 emissions, how are we going to heat the pool?
The pool's being proposed to use heat pumps and also gas heating at this stage of the concept.
Councillor Forbes?
Yes, just a comment or a question. Why were you restricting yourselves to the current location? I consider sort of having the proposal located at, say, Federation Park, down more space for parking later on, or expansion changes later on. It's very restricted location.
So looking at alternative sites was part of the brief for the consultant, and they did look at Tenterfield, and they felt that this was the best site because of its relationship to the New England Highway and its close proximity to the town as well.
But I would thought maybe Federation Park is close to the town hall, and more parking space availability, and it's very restricted, that's all.
I guess that's already got an existing use.
Councillor Forbes, you raised a good point, and you must have been obviously not here or on Zoom. At a workshop, that was mentioned and discussed at length, at a lot of greenfield site, to go totally away from there to somewhere else. So you have raised a good point, but we're moving down the track along. Councillors, any other questions to do with the report? No? Okay, the council's officer's recommendations there. All in favour? Against? Okay. Thank you, councillors. Councillor, move on to page 37 in your hard copy. It's item COM 35/20. Updated funding regional tourism bushfire recovery grants, Green 1, Peter Allen, Oracle to the bush and Saddle Mountain Bike. But can I have a move and a second here, please? Councillor Sawyer, thank you. Second by Councillor Bromwich, and I thank you. And I welcome back Mr. Harry Bolt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillors, this report is provide council with updated information in relation to regional tourism bushfire recovery fund stream 1 for Peter Allen Person and additional funding applications for Oracle to the bush 2021 and Saddle Mountain Bike Club Tenterfield. Recommendations are there for you, councillors. Just a quick way of background, on Tuesday, 1 December, council received an invitation to apply for further $30,000 in relation to bushfire tourism recovery initiatives. 1.1 million in funding remaining and applications paid 8th of December. Just very quickly, the Peter Allen Festival was successful early in the year in receiving funding of $20,000. That funding is there for them and will remain eligible right up until 20th of November next year. So because of that, we're recommending that we don't apply for any further funding for that program, and that our recommendation is there as far as the providing funding for Oracles of the Bush and for the mountain bike initiative, which I think is a wonderful initiative for our community, and something that will activate another source of income for our community by way of a new tourism experience. Obviously, the Oracles of the Bush were impacted heavily last year, councillors, with the bushfires. and eventually having to cancel out because of bushfires and COVID. And that was a severe impact on them. This year they celebrate, this coming year they celebrate the 25th year as Oracles of the Bush, and as such they're requesting some assistance with funding. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Aaron, if I can go first. So, and I can now open straight, we jack 30K, so I just split $10,000 each.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions to Harry to do a report?
Sorry,
Oh,
15, sorry. So, female person will drop out because they've received funding,
right.
so it's 30,000.
I apologise, that's why I asked. So that 20K you're talking about sitting there?
Yeah.
For the Peter Allen?
That's
So it'll be 15 each for the two in the number two.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Bronwyn.
Can I just congratulate the Oracles of the Bush for their 25th consecutive, except for this year, which COVID came the week before their event, I believe. With Peter Allen, did they apply for the 30 originally? And they got 20 or?
They did cancel that, and so that was done in two forms. So we actually applied that through our tourism department, and we applied for 30,000. We were given 20, but another 10 came in another form. So they've actually had received 30, but 20 was with us, and the other 10 came through our partnership with Newington High Country.
Yeah, that's fine. I was just wondering, I didn't know, it might be worth just
Yeah.
giving another go for another kid, but they've got 30, that's great. And so with their 25th, are they going to have anything special because of this?
I think heaps. For all the
I
indications.
mean, it's something that we should.
The Oracles.
Yeah, I mean, 25 years is a great milestone.
I would think that would be plenty of celebration.
Yeah, I haven't had an in-depth conversation with the Oracles community, but I'm sure
Anyway, I think-
they're planning some big events.
I think we should, as council, should congratulate them on their
Well,
fourth century.
That's why we can help, we can use, let them use 300 chairs from here.
Absolutely.
And we will be. Any other questions to Mr. Bolton to do with the report? Councillor McGee.
Just a quick one, thank you, Mr. Mayor. How do the bush and, how do the Saddler Mountain Bike Club intend to spend their money, Harry?
So they, thank you, councillor, they, so putting on their event, obviously it's a new event, so they're looking at, some issues around, overhead costs with road, closures, and also with marketing. the
What
event.
offences?
So the event's in the planning at the moment, and they're looking at running an inaugural, it's not a mountain bike event, it's a road event. So they're looking at, setting up different tracks, going out of Tenterfield. I think their idea is to start on the, aerodrome, and then they'll go, and they've got three tracks that they've developed at the moment, ranging between, I think 15 Ks and 75 Ks.
Is this all connected to anything?
Not necessarily, it's been encouraged, but of course, this event is actually being encouraged through, discussions with council, so it's actually the council that suggested that, the mountain biking group look at putting on an event, and that's why we're supporting it. So the event will, it'll be over a weekend, it will attract, I'm sure, a lot of interest from a lot of people. So even though it's not necessarily, it's not directly tied to Angry Bulls, but obviously it's supporting that notion that Angry Bulls.
Councillor, just a comment to refresh your memory, and Councillor Ryan, some meetings ago, brought a notice of motion, Councillor Bob,
Yes,
to do with the legislation, which was unanimous, I think.
that's correct.
Yes. Did you wish to speak, Councillor?
Okay,
Yeah.
if I might. Yeah, this council did resolve, a few months ago to somehow assist the new Settlers Mountain Bike Club by coming up with an idea, and the resolution was to make an approach to the Settlers Club with the idea and with the concept, with the idea that they could use the car parking area at the airstrip. There was some mapping involved that all went with the resolution. Since then, I've spoken to a couple of people involved, and they indicated they would go ahead with it, but that was months ago. So we've already supported this concept in a previous resolution, and I think endorsing an application to give them some grant funding so they can run it and they've already got the plan to run it in May, I think it's just another extension of our support.
Absolutely.
To continue.
I just wanted to raise that, councillor, it's just a healthy question, that's all, just refresh us all. Report, Terry? No? The officer's recommendations there, councillors, all in favour? Against, carried. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bobbins. Page 40 in your hard copy, councillors, item ENB 23/20, Tenterfield Shire Council draft tree management plan. Got a move in a second to deal with this, please. Councillor Sawyer, I thank you, second by Councillor Berry, thank you, and I will hand over to, are you doing this job, Kirk? I'll hand over to colleague with work ably assisted by Mr. Mark Evans. Welcome, Kirk.
Yeah, it's probably just procedural, Mr. Mayor, this has been back and forth a couple of times. And what we're looking for is the official council sign off. I'm sure that Councillor Murray, as the chair of Parks and Gardens, may wish to say something about it, but as I said, we're quite excited to get this.
Council, just remind that there is a detailed report here in our attachments, staff report to deal with our, Councillor Ron.
Two things is there. One is, can we, before it gets adopted, can we change every meter to meter? And all through the whole document. The other thing is that is of great concern is at our last meeting in the Parks and Gardens report, it said that the pinnacles in Logan Street, as they were gradually removed, they'd be replaced with the Niagara. But in the tree management plan, it doesn't specifically state that. So if we adopt this tree management plan, are we by default agreeing to that the pinnacles are replaced with a tiny little, completely different colour tree, or is that? I mean, I just want to make sure that if we adopt this,
Fair question, yeah.
especially when, as we consider, even our CE, when the RMS were wanting to get rid of some out on Cow Street, said that a heap of the residents be able to tie themselves to trees. Well, I mean, we can't then by default completely change the look of a heritage listed street.
Yeah, the recommendation within the report is as the trees are dying, we're not able to replace the fifty on the side of the power lines. So it's on page 37, you can see 2/3 down Logan Street, is that it gives you the three species that will be replaced as those trees are moved on the street.
Page 37, all right.
How far down,
We go George Street, High Street, Landers, Link, Logan.
Logan, yeah.
So that's the recommendation.
To all the, because in that case, those power lines in that street are specifically bundled so that the power line actually runs through those trees. So why therefore would a power line thing policy come into place when the power people specifically did something because of those trees? So that I'm looking from High Street through to Street, Martin, somewhere?
Yeah,
Definitely High Street back to the south, there are power line issues, but from High Street north,
yeah.
That power line is specifically bundled and it runs through the actual tree. So it's not the same as any other power line issue because it's already been dealt with. So so because of that one particular thing, I cannot support this tree management thing. Sorry.
That's been the discussion of Parks and Gardens, obviously, and their recommendation of report that's been included in the plan. So it's up to council if they're not happy with that recommendation, go back and discuss that with the Parks and Gardens Committee for further reference or.
Did you wish to speak to, or you, Councillor Murray, if you wish to, as chair of the Parks and Gardens?
Well, through you, Mr. Mayor, I would like to hold back on this because we're having a meeting tomorrow, Parks and Gardens, for the year. We've invited along Sarah Colwell to do with Tenterfield Park. And I'd like to get some information on that one before we deal with this one. So that's where we are with that.
Right.
In other words, I'm looking for more information.
Right. To do with adopting the this in draft, remember?
Yeah.
So that there, this is a draft, correct me if I'm wrong?
Yeah.
It has not been adopted by council, so
Yeah,
it's
that's
being worked.
So today, we are adopting the Turnbull Shire Council draft tree management plan.
As recommended by the council.
As a permanent thing, so, so
Right, I mean,
yes, that we, as per councillor Murray's thing, we should defer this to the next council meeting.
Just hang on. I'll tie up a few questions here and then we'll deal with what we're going to do further on. Councillor Berry, then I'll go to you, Councillor, so I apologise, Councillor Berry.
Okay, we've got a couple of things here. Bringing power lines listed, that's probably one of the things that really upset the people there. We've got a meeting here, we've got to contact Queensland Power Company, because they're all Queensland Power up there. And to make sure that's done right, and we've got a Casey Street and Minty Road listed, we've got the species there, and I want it noted that Lisbon raised the money with the help of council, we planted trees, $2,500, isn't it? On, not on.
I do, Councillor, you're right on that.
Yeah, yep. We raised $2,500, bought the trees through council, I might have given extra trees as well, we planted them ourselves. One of the individuals didn't want pear trees, so he actually bought, I think it was one of these flowering plums, he planted them in front of his place. We planted all the streets with, I can't think of it, Christmas trees, what do you call them?
Orange trees.
No, Christmas bush. So, Creighton Myrtle.
Yep.
And that's all run by voluntary labour. We've planted trees in our park, we've been gifted trees, planted in the park.
Listen's done a wonderful job, Councillor,
Yeah,
absolutely.
so I think there should be no complaint.
Right.
I think it's very important to note that. Because it's got to be there for future generations.
Yep.
To know.
I'll go to you, Councillor Sawyer.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. If we defer this to the next council meeting, that's February. Then a further display period, so it'll be the middle of the year before we do anything. How about we accept the draft plan with the asterisk against Logan Street?
Yep.
To get feedback from the community as part of the period of display. And then we make a decision on what we're going to do. But just to defer it to February and then make that little adjustment to one street is delaying the whole process.
So just, accept it, Councillor, with the exception of Logan Street.
With further information
Yeah.
confirmed
Logan
about
Street.
Logan Street.
And Councillor Berry, what page are you referring to? Please, can you help us out on that report? What's the comment in about this?
Well, the power lines on page 25, 10.4, and in the page 38, it's got 38 got listed Casey Street and that Minty Road. I think it's nearly all the streets in this for the planning.
You didn't answer my question, Councillor. I don't think you wanted some comment made about listing.
Oh, yeah, I think it's written on the board. I can't quite read it.
Yeah, but where in this document?
Oh, it should go somewhere. I don't know where we can put
Well,
that.
I thought you had the spot, that's all.
Well, it's marked in 38, but that's only the species.
What are you referring to as 38 as a page?
Yes.
There is no page 38.
Yeah, the back towards the,
I apologise. I apologise.
Well, I think it has to be a separate dot point, like, with 11, maybe 10.5, or put it as number 12. Separate dot point, a separate point.
Under listed.
Yeah, but see, that's held to the tree species, so I think we'll have to go for separate, 12, I don't know whether it be 13 or 12.
I'm just trying to work with you, Councillor, that's all.
Yeah, well, 13 to conclusion, maybe we go to 14.
Can't have a 14 after conclusion.
Can I just offer a suggestion?
But by all means, stop.
There's possibly a lot of different plants that have contributed to different trees, different tree planting in the area. Perhaps it might be worthwhile to acknowledge that in terms of an adjunct to the officer's recommendation. noting the work that Mr. Norton said that's actually resolved by council, and that we definitely get it on the books and people won't actually have to go digging.
Would you be happy with that, councillor?
Yeah, as long as it's noted that listing, we've done it from, going back to the red scheme, we planted our trees there, so I think it should be noted. Somehow.
Lead the way. All right, no problem. Councillor Bronwyn, to the report.
Yeah, I'm happy with councillor Sawyer's suggestion, but, councillor Murray raised the issue of technical path. So is that another item that it needs to be highlighted in there to be referred?
Yeah, but that's upcoming tomorrow. So,
Like if we adopt this today,
Yeah.
councillor Murray said that there's a mid-vote tomorrow from Sarah Paul in relation to technical park. Is another section here we need to do last year's step.
So you're referring to your councillor tomorrow?
Tenfield Park, yes.
Up here.
No, up here,
Oh, apologise.
East Street.
Okay, so apologise, didn't I? So what's Sarah doing tomorrow?
We're having Passion Gardens. meeting.
Yes, so what's Sarah presenting on what?
Well, because it's a high fire risk for starters, and what I approached them and said, well, why don't you put somebody in and maybe council would meet you halfway to do a bit of clearing there with the fire hazard. And then to continue on with what they'd like to plant in there.
Right.
On that part. It's 53, was it 33 or 53 acres of land?
Yeah.
It's huge. I wasn't aware of it before.
Right. So does that affect this?
Two estimates.
Right.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
4.2, it's 4.1 is planting of trees, so we can go to 4.2, that the trees are privately planted.
Right. Have you noted that, Collins?
The only challenge is that we might have to go away and do a bit more work to look at a lot of other areas where others have made contributions. I've got no dramas with recognising that, but it's a separate and another piece of that project, I guess, to acknowledge all those different items we have planted.
Well, and that's very common because to acknowledge all our outlying areas, especially in villages, with the effort that they've made to beautify their villages and take ownership of it. And yes, listen, that's led the way, but to acknowledge the other villages also, what they do.
Well, if we put it as 4.2, or 4.3, won't we? Yeah, 4.3, and we can note there, when we get submissions back on this, I'm sure people will say, look, I've planted trees too. So we can add it when we actually accept the document, not as a draft.
Right, good.
There are three information, an update on not only Logan Street, but the concern of when we pick the species of tree that we're going to be replanting. Through talking with Country Energy or Origin or power suppliers, they would sooner have no tree planted on the power line. At the end of the day, all they're growing is grass. Reason being is it's maintenance on their behalf. And they actually made us years ago, we planted some golden elms in the street. And after the boss man wrote back to council to say have them removed, otherwise they would charge council when those trees made the power line. So they've given us a list of trees that are suitable to go on the power lines. So the reason why we picked Logan was because we can still have a pin oak on one side, and then you can have the flowering plum on the other side. So the flowering plums won't be anywhere near invasive and as high as what these are at this stage, which means naturally we're going to have less complaints and less fears of trees falling on houses.
Yep.
And as it stands now, with the amount of wind and the trees, they're nearly all have to use by date. We need to act on this now, otherwise not only Logan Street, but every other street within town will have no trees in the walls because of the fact that they're an aging population, they're 60, 80 years old, then they're all suffering from that. So getting back to what it is, we chose the micros because they're only small, they'll grow to sort of 5 metres. You can plant more of them. And the fact is they will be on both sides of the street if we get adopted. So it's not going to look out of place by having 50 species in one street.
But, and that will go through every other street in town to all of us with the plan.
Okay, seems to be comments good, that's enlightened everyone. Right,
Can I ask a question there? Can I ask?
you can, and then I'm going to tidy what we want to do up, okay, councillor?
That's through you, Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
So Mark, what part does Heritage play in this? Because it came up the last Heritage last week.
Yeah, unfortunately,
But those
even though
heritage-
Maiden Street, every Canadian Maiden Street is heritage listed. So we need to take one out, we've got to do a report, which then goes back to the Heritage Committee, we've got to show the reason why, and then they give us the yes or no as to whether or not it will come out or whether it doesn't. And then, same deal, we've got to then supply the species that will be replanted in that street. Now, unfortunately, through the Parks and Gardens Committee, we did say that as they start to get less and less, we will put a remembrance up there, because it used to be called Right Crush Drive, in memory of, but unfortunately, it is what it is, and these trees are failing very quickly. So we need to act to get what trees we're going to put back in that street, and so that we can start to replant. Now, the prices of everything's ready to go, it's just a matter of what we're going to plant. Unfortunately, I would say a heritage listed tree can still be a heritage listed tree if it's got if it fails and falls on a house. A lawsuit's not going to take anything out of it. A heritage listed tree is not going to take it out of the lawsuit.
And we can't reserve it if you want, but that's the truth.
One more councillor, and we'll tidy this up.
Yeah, thanks, but can I just say, also tomorrow I'm looking at Tennyfoot Park, I had a complaint yesterday, all concerned that there's a lot of dead trees there that look like they're gonna, so maybe. The issue, part of the issue is, it's not just that the pin oaks would be not replaced with pin oaks, like they previously used to be. That's the tree that's proposed to be replaced.
Yep.
And so if they're replaced, as the others are currently, with a dark leaf tree, it's going to look all gobbledygook. It's not even like it's another green tree that would kind of fit in with that drive.
Which
So
page,
this is something
which page are you referring to, councillor?
46.
46.
With a picture. So that's the
This one at the top.
yeah, that's the tree that's been decided to be replacing. So you're going to have brilliant green, stately looking trees interspersed with pretty little dark leaf trees, which is going to look very, I think, disjointed. And while I do understand the power line thing, and remembering why those trees were planted for Robert Brush, because the previous council at the time did not do his superannuation properly, and things, that was part of the deal, apparently. But I just think if that is the case, if you're going to choose another tree for one side of the street perhaps, then at least try and keep it in context colour-wise, so it doesn't look so in your face. Anyway, I'm happy to see what the community response will be on the issue.
Okay, so we've made the few changes we need to make.
I'll ask councillor Sawyer if he's happy with that.
Can't see it.
Accept the draft plan and place on public exhibition with further information to be provided on tree species on Logan Street, and note as item 4.3, Liston's input in planting and providing trees, and further information regarding Tenterfield Park.
Okay, all good? Yep. Right. Reports there, councillors.
We just need a seconder.
I'll second.
Councillor Sawyer's moved that. Councillor Murray is seconded. All in favour? Now, all in favour of adopting the report? All in favour? Against? Okay. Thank you, councillor. Councillors, we'll do the monthly report, then we'll break for a little bit of little lunch. Page 43, it's item GOB 95/20. It's a monthly operation report, November 2020. Can I have a move in a second here, please? Councillor Mike Quigley, thank you. Second by Councillor Murray, and I thank you. And I'll hand over to our CEO to present the monthly report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Happy to accept questions by exception.
Any questions to our CEO or other staff? Order, I'll go to Mr. CEO.
On Monday, Mr. Bolton and I met with a couple of representatives from the state government in relation to grants, specifically Mount Lindsay Road and the National Monitoring Project. The meeting went very well. It's not I don't think it's a mathematical, a coincidence that Peter Sneak is ringing again the following day to talk about the same thing. So I dug a bit deeper. Petterfield's Mount Lindsay Road's been put up on a short list for consideration for grant funding because all the other councils have run out of shovel-ready projects. But there's been so many grants in the last 6 to 12 months that all the things they have in their bottom drawer, all designed, have all either been built or not been, or decided against it. So out of the councils in the New England, we're the only one with a shovel-ready road project of significant stature that it would require a nice blue ribbon opening. In other words, before an election.
Thank you. Good. Right. Questions to the monthly report. I'll go over to you, Councillor Raven. Councillor McNish, did you indicate? I apologise.
Yes.
I'll go to Councillor McNish first, Councillor Raven, Councillor Ron.
Just on page 11, under G, that further 36 kilometres of Victory Road, has that been programmed at this stage?
No, what's happening, we've been allocated $869,000 extra, but I don't think you know the grant criteria yet. No?
Grant criteria came through only yesterday.
Oh, okay.
If you look at the country roads application today, we'll move on to that.
So Fiona, that'll be, and I think that's great, that'll be a continuation of the 43 kilometre gig we're doing now, so.
It will be, yeah. We do have some roads that we've identified.
Yeah.
Just need to go through the guidelines and make sure.
Okay. You come back to council with that choice of roads?
We will, yeah. Do a workshop.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Bob Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Page 89.
Yep.
Which is to do with water and capital projects. Questions about the borders. At the top of the page, 89, it gives a bit of a summary of, talks about the infrastructure for the bore project. And also mentions that it's near completion with electrical and control boards installed back in September and October. I mean, I've noticed that the actual pumps and stuff still aren't down in the bore wells. So I'm just, and there's no mention of that here. So I'm just wondering how close it actually is to completion and when it will be, when they will be operational. Even though we've got a full ban at the moment. I think.
Yeah.
They're not quite ready yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, last I heard on that was a couple of weeks ago when we were having problems with Central Energy with NMI numbers. So where the service has been applied for, and they have the process to put it through. Now, they had claimed that they had no record of the applications that go back, I think, almost 12 months. However, I think there was evidence that was provided to them that it's now moved up the chain a little bit, and I think things are moving, but I don't have a date that's going to actually happen.
So is that actually stop the pumps going in the hole?
Oh, no, not so much, but when the electrical supply's not there, we can't condition anyway. But I'll take it on that as well.
Councillor Bromwell, I'll go to you, Councillor Herrick.
Just on page 95, I think about the sludge press dehydrator, that was sewage run, basically. And we all went out there and had a look. I'm just wondering.
Oh, sorry, Councillor, I asked the same thing. Yes, that doesn't matter.
Because we went out and had that interesting field trip there that day. I'm just wondering what is therefore happening with the output from this new dehydrator. Is it still going to where it was going before? I think that's what I imagine it is. Before we had private individuals who were taking the waste and putting it out on farms. Is that still happening, or is something else up there?
I'm still going to the golf course. The rest discharging to the creek required.
No, you mean solids, Councillor, don't you?
Oh, the solids.
Yes, the sludge.
I can really answer the Councillor. You know where they're going, I know where. To my knowledge, they're still going there.
Yes,
but in different form.
Oh,
they're more dry.
Yeah,
It's dry.
I see the truck's still paid.
Yeah.
Councillor Berry, you've indicated?
Question to the owner, with 43 kilometres of road, does it starting of the owner needs one?
Yes, Castle Rack has been completed down at Bolivia, and 6 kilometres of Clinton's Road has been done, and racecourse is being done today.
What about
Councillor, if I can,
Pretty Gully? You do Pretty Gully?
No, Pretty Gully, but Clinton's.
I thought we did some on Pretty Gully early as well, too, when we were up there.
There's a section of about 2.3 kilometres on Paddy's Flat.
Oh, Paddy's Flat, sorry.
But that's at Clinton's Road, so we're fishing.
Oh, okay.
Clinton's Road,
Yeah,
there's
I'm getting
two
confused.
stream with its floodway and dust abatement, we're gonna do that. Is the
Councillor Berry, if I can share with you, I've had the great pleasure of driving on both Castle Rag and the recent Monday, Hoops Road, and to go down and help hand out $50,000 to the workers at the Blueberry Farm. Absolutely fantastic job, and I commended Fiona when I got here today.
I hope he's back to speed of Mr.
No, I didn't. I never did. I was on the council council, David, that built.
You're on record.
But anyway, councillor, and absolutely, because knowing that area as well as I did, to drive down there and see a newly completed bridge over Indian Creek, a newly completed bridge which we contributed to over the Crown River, and an absolutely fantastic job to the 6 families that have lived there for the last 150 years. They would never thought they'd see a seal road. The workers and the owners of the Blueberry Farm are absolutely ecstatic about it, and Janet Bill Shire right up on their list as far as the Shire that works with. Because as we all know, it's up to 400 or 500 people working there at their peak season, and we need to be supportive of that, and we are. And they've expanded to Dalween, talking about that. So you can run the tracks, and that's the other way, the current Blueberries up there. And they got transport them down there. So anyway, I just want to throw that in. Any other questions to do with the report, councillors?
Just a comment, council needs council will be assuring next election.
Oh, come on. Right, any other questions to do with the monthly report, councillors? Reports there, councillors, all happy to note. Against, carried. Councillors, can I have a motion to suspend standing order for a quick couple of days? Councillor Murray moved that we suspend standing orders. Sligo, second by Councillor Michael Frank. All in favour? Against, carried. Back at 15, huh?
We better not stand up.
What do you think, Mike?
Stand up and put it in the ditch and fighting speed.
Murray, I thank you. Second, please. Councillor Sawyer, thank you. All in favour? Against, carried. Councillor always thinks we're having a wonderful morning too. Not ability. Cup of tea and for our meeting, last meeting of the year, and I really do appreciate the discount to get on and having on together outside of the council meeting. Thanks, everything. Council, move on to page 44 in your hard copy. Item GOB 96/20 is council recess period 2020-2021 delegation to executive leave period. Scott, move the second here, please. Councillor Michael Petrie, thank you as the mover, and Councillor Bob Reagan as the second. And I'll hand over to CD to the
Yeah, through Mr. Mayor, this is the same thing that council does every year. Happy to accept questions by exception.
Any questions to do with the report, councillors? Reports there, councillors, all in favour? Against, carried, thank you. Page 47 in your hard copy, councillors. Item GOB 97/20, review community engagement policy, community engagement strategy. Move to the second here, please. Councillor Roman Quickly, thank you. Second by Councillor Berry, and I thank you. And once again, I'll hand over to our CD.
Through Mr. Mayor, Mr. Bolton, to the
I apologise. Aaron?
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Council, this report is to advise council of a review of current community engagement policy and the community engagement strategy review. The recommendation is there. Council, you read the report. This is a requirement of council to review their policies every 3 years. Just slightly over that. Changes are in the policy, we mark in red for you, and it's fairly standard report. I guess the main issue here is that the amendments along with current National Association of Public Participation core values and decision-making research. Additions to the policy include capturing of the new International Association of Public participation effect on public participation, and core values of code and code of ethics in that. We have been authorised to use that in this report, councillors, and the references in the attachments to the report. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Harry, the attachment councils is attachment number 6. Should have on your attachment booklet, attachment 6. So there. Any questions to Harry to do the report? Councillor Berry.
We're not going to question to Harry, but a few comments about it. This doesn't on council, we go to the public every couple of years.
Yep.
We have our progress meeting. And I think we've got to demonstrate not only listening, but we're acting while we're here. And we're not doing that. Oh, we're doing it to a degree, but generally feedback we're getting from I get from the public is, yeah, council needs to listen. And we just don't seem to be acting on what we're here. And if we don't start acting on what we're here, the public end up walking away. That was an example of this the other day. Something came up about a barbecue area and we're flat out getting a quorum at the next meeting. People just want to be acted on, they want to be treated with respect, and I don't think we're doing that quite sufficiently. In quite a few areas, I'm trying to work out your amendments, stitching this in here, how you address it. I couldn't come up with anything sensible on point call type thing of help. You know, the public need to accept ownership of these things, and we need to accept the fact that the public needs that ownership. You know, we're not, if we don't give them ownership, they won't accept those items. You know, like for instance, we can plant all those trees, they're happy to own them, they're happy to work with council to achieve that. But how you put this to a point form, I've got no idea. If we, for instance, if we go to the public, if you go to the public with this on things that have local impact, high impact. If we go to the public first with any infrastructure or stuff we're doing in these villages that's got high impact, we should go there for concept to start off with. And then leave the villages progress association, work on that concept to come up with something that they want. Then take that to council and say, look, this is the parameters of what we want. Council can draw up a plan for what they want. Take the concept, take the drawn up plan as is draft stage back to the public and say, look, this is what we can come up with. Is this suitable? Then, if it's suitable, council go ahead and do it. And I know it's a lengthy process, but I think it's the only way we can actually come out of this looking, smelling like roses. So,
Councillor, I will comment on your comments, and I agree with plenty of what you're saying. With the local government in the wonderful world we live in, and Lucia and I speak about this all the time, the easy things to do that sound easy where a village is asking, which is supporting what you're mentioning, doesn't become so easy when it comes to local government to work under legislation or the Act or the health department or whatever. And that's a world that you and I know well, councillor, but just to go and do something, we used to just go and do it. But once it's got the local government or Tenterfield Shire label on it, it's got to be done in a way that's approved through local government. And that is all the challenges. And I'll use one example. Some 4 years ago, and through this council, I think it's absolutely fantastic where we are now, sitting in the School of Arts, Grant Johnson, I'll mention his name here in a public meeting, mentioned about public use, recreational use of their town there. That's 4 years ago, and we're not there yet, but we're still heading for that light on the hill. But once we get this filtration plan in and the community understand that, and it will take a long time, we will get there. And we'll build something out there that everyone's so proud of. And we'll see recreation use on that area. But it's taken a long time to get there. That's just one example. Supporting what you say. But, you know, and I agree, but it's, you know, to stand there at those meetings and they're so important to do that 12 year and that 4 year delivery plan with what a community is expecting. It's not that easy. And I agree, it should be as hard as it is. But that's the world we live in.
Yeah, I was going along some of the lines, if we take concept of public first, the concept comes from the public. That's the first stage, I think we've got to put that in there somewhere, the concept should go to the public first. Not when you get to the second or third stage, so this is the plan, you have A or B. And that's what we seem to be doing, is that concept of public first, leave them come up with what they want. And I know it's got to be old, because it's got to be all the paraphernalia council's got to do. I think that's where we're probably, where we're falling short.
Really start one comment on this, Eric, I'll go to you.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Berry. It's a difficult situation, and I might just say that I'm pretty proud of what our staff achieve when it comes to working with the community. What, as the Mayor has already explained, is that we have an operational plan that we are required to work to. We have a delivery plan that we achieve each year. And we go out to the community at the beginning of that and we ask what the things that they would like us to achieve. And I'm pretty comfortable with the fact that we deliver probably 99 to 100% of those requests. Now, things like the barbecue that you mentioned, what have you, come up because of funding options that come to us from another area. And they become extra things that aren't in our operational plan. So they become things that we then have to try and fit into our day-to-day operations. So that makes it very difficult. So we go to the community and say, well, here's your 10,000, here's your 20,000, or whatever it is, what would you like to do with it? And we're still fighting that battle with some of our communities today to try and settle on what it is that they actually want to do with some of that money. Now, in the case of the, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the case of the barbecue situation, that project was basically almost commenced without us having any knowledge about what was happening in that particular project. And that's why it was ceased at that point. Because we have to also take on board the things such that we then become responsible for, as we've spoken about a lot in this forum here. You know, it's not just a matter of build a barbecue, who then takes ownership of that, who's responsible for it, all those things need to be there before we have to go to the construction phase. So I think in the long run, we do a pretty good job of providing the stuff to the community they need. Now, sometimes it's just not possible to have that level of representation, if you like, or discussion when we're trying to move grant funding as quickly as we are. So, you know.
The only other thing that I'd add with that is I agree with Harry from my perspective. I think we actually do a really good job. We've got a lot of disparities. You know, when we go to community, trying to actually get an alignment of what that looks like is a big challenge as well. So this is designed, I guess, to keep us having those conversations. This is the policy of the process that we're still out there and we're still having those conversations. And as I carry on, I'm actually quite proud of how we liaise with our community. One of the councils, as the pay rates, I would need to expect to be able to back about some of the stuff that we continually like to people engage, you know, on a very regular basis. So that's where I think that we're really trying to be as inclusive as we can. And as I said, some of the time frames and being able to do that, and even some of the things that people don't think about, like, you know, voiding council's insurance, it'll be a big problem with some of the projects we've had proposed. If they did go ahead and lost a building or whatever, and had a huge financial loss that the community has to pay for, so we can't have to see that.
If I can just add to that, Councillor, and once again, I do understand you and really respect your passion for the area that you represent, Councillor. But in the 12 years that I've been in local government, it's moved a quantum leap from where we were engaging with the community to where we are today, and what the community do expect from the local government area that they reside in. So, but it's one of those living, breathing sort of things we do all the time, Councillor. This is my opinion. And yes, there is room for improvement. There's always room for improvement. So I do note your comment.
And what I do is just improve or try and improve our community engagement. I can give you an example. Something about 30 years ago, we had a meeting with June. I was invited along by the mayor and council and a couple of others. And Harles Valley reaching that road. And
that hasn't changed.
It has. But the crux of the matter was, the engineer said, look, prioritise all your road bad points, all the roads in the area, so we did that. And council followed that to a T, and I think that was the only community engagement strategy we had. And they followed that till, I think it was finished by the time I got elected council. So, you know, we can do it better.
Any other questions to do with the report to Harry or any other staff? Councillor Hitch?
Yeah, just a comment, I've been going to these, village meetings for a long time, and I find that most of the questions are based on self-interest. Why isn't it made in my place better, and that sort of thing. There's very few, I'm not being critical of Gary, this is probably broadening over the whole community, but that's what they actually, they're more interested in personal things rather than the big picture. And I think it's great, that's a fact of life, and that's the way it is, no matter what we did. Like, we talk about Liston, you know, when I first went to council, the bitching stopped at London Bridge, which is only,
I was going to say 100 miles wide out.
let's say 7 or 8 kilometres out, or something like that now, maybe 5 kilometres, the whole road is done.
That's good comment.
That is never acknowledged. But the fact is, someone's got a big they've got a good road up to it, that's more important than what we've done. So I think no matter what we do, it's just a comment I'd like to make. I think I agree with some things you said, Gary, and I think self-interest does come first.
Oh, absolutely. Any other questions, Councillor Murray?
I'd like just to comment on that.
Councillor.
I think that we should encourage more representation on those committees that we do.
Yeah.
We're lacking terribly now in representation.
Well, and I think that the invitation's always there.
Yes and no. Yes and no.
Right.
And that is the conduit between mayor and council.
Totally. And I'll just use too, with the Parks and Gardens, with Heritage. Well, Heritage is got to a stage where it's standing room only.
Yes.
You know, which is absolutely fantastic, and a wide area covered there.
Yeah, it's excellent, I must say, yes.
Okay, councillors, the report's there, the officer's recommendation, all happy to receive, adopt, against, carry. Councillors, we move on to our finance part of our business paper. Page 49 in your hard copy, item GOB 98/20, finance accounts period for 30th November 2020. Move to the second here, please. Councillor Sawyer, thank you. Second, please. Councillor Rogan, I thank you. And as much pleasure that I introduce Mr. Paul Dale.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Welcome, Paul.
Thank you, 3 years, Mayor. The balance of council cash as at the 30th of November 2020 is just over 4.5 million, 313,000 in trust account, and investments totaling 9.37 million. You note from the report, there was no concealed water leakage assessment granted during the month. And also we added a new section in showing the number of applications of 603 certificates. During the sale of a property, a 603 certificate is usually requested to identify if there are any outstanding other fees of council by way of wage charge for otherwise, the parcel plan. There were 54 applications, 603 certificates in November 2020. In the calendar year to date, there were 225 applications compared to 184 applications for the same period last year.
Paul, I made a comment I said to so that is really good information for us to know as a council. Council, you all know that 603, that's when properties change over. That's telling us that real estate is going really, really well in town. And Paul, I repeat myself, that's good information. Thank you for sharing that. Questions for Paul, councillors? No questions? Officer's recommendations then receive a note, all in favour? Against? Carried. Moving to page 53, your hard copy, item GOB 99/20. Government expenditure report as 30th November 2020. Moving to second here, please. Councillor Michael Peake, thank you. Second by Councillor Berry, and thank you. I'll hand over to you again, Paul.
Once again, Mr. Mayor, I'll take any questions.
Questions, Paul? Recommendations here to receive a note, councillors, all in favour? Against? Carried. Councillors, we start with our amendments. The first amendment is GOB 100. Right?
Yep.
100/20, so water consumption fee decrease, 220/221 financial year. Move to second here, please. Councillor Sawyer, thank you. Second, please. Councillor Murray, thank you. And I'll hand over to Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you again. The purpose of the report, as you can read, is to reduce water consumption fees as a result of increased water consumption, above the estimated consumption using the vacancy basis of 2021. You might recall that back in June, at the Auckland Council meeting, the resolution to review the water consumption fees after the first reading of the year, which we have done, and the proposed reductions are outlined in the recommendation, and basically, based on the consumption rate, that will bring the income from the consumption fees in line with what we estimated for the year, but with pretty low.
Questions to Paul to do the report, Councillor Sawyer?
It's not a question through you, Mr. Mayor, it's more a comment.
I'll allow the comment, Councillor.
It's very pleasing to see this recommendation come up for. I was very concerned with the percentage increase that we were proposing, but had to legitimately apply that to make sure the water fund was going to look after itself as we're supposed to. This recommendation puts in light for the public that we're doing what we said we'd do. We had no other option but to put the fees up at that time. Now that it's been proven the consumption back where we thought it might be, we're now making the change that we spoke about at the time. I'm totally in favour of the recommendation.
Thanks, Councillor, for your comments. I fully support it. Any other questions to Paul to do with Councillor Bromley?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. As you know, I spoke strongly against putting it up that amount in the first place, based on the not rocket science knowledge that you knew that water consumption would increase now that we weren't in that 4.7 or whatever level of restriction. I just want clarification. So we're still having a fee increase of 25% compared to last year. And if water consumption continues to rise through the summer months, are we looking at another decrease, or is this it?
3 years, I'm proposing this for you. In terms of the water fund, what we need, we have to replace about $53 million of assets over the next, 50 years or so, and we need to make sure there's sufficient funds in the water fund to be able to do that as required. Last year we had a $328,000 loss in the water fund. What we're doing with these fees hasn't claimed that back, so we haven't done that. So if the consumption does go up a little bit and we do get a bit more in this financial year, I think it's justifiable in terms of what we need for the water fund going forward. So I'm proposing for the certainty of the consumer that we leave it at this for this year, and we look at it again.
Just further comment. Well, I still think 25% is a big fight for people, but is that money confined always to the water fund? You can't be sent it.
Through units, yes, the water fund is a separate fund in its own right, and it's confined to this.
Councillor, we'll remind you that how lucky we are to have good people in their finance department. We're reminded all the time about our infrastructure, it's aging, and the responsible councillor and a council that listens to their, especially their senior staff and all that stuff. When we brought to the attention, I could use the bridge problems as an example, and it hit us a bit hard. There was no one to blame. It's just what we got on with it and now moving forward and leaps and bounds. But the water fund, sewage fund, and our waste fund, we always need to be aware that if there's no money in there to do anything, we're going out the back door big. So I know the decisions we make in the future aren't easy. We're ratepayers first, but I just wanted to note that we always need to be responsible about those departments and listen to our staff on that when they give us good reports that are indicating that there's going to be a problem here in the future. Make a decision early, don't make it late. Saying that, the officer's recommendations there, all in favour? Yes? Thank you, Councillor. Councillor, move on to the other addendum, and it's GOB 101/20, delegation chief executive leave period. Can I have a move and a second here, please? Councillor Bob Rogan, thank you. Second, please. Councillor Mike Peake, thank you. And I'll hand over to our CEO.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Under the Local Government Act, council needs to place an acting chief executive on. Technically speaking, I'm still the chief executive until the 15th of the 1st, but having taken annual leave and had that approved prior to my resignation, it's a moot point. So I also don't think it's right from a probity point of view to have an outgoing CEO making decisions during the recess period of council when they won't be held accountable for those decisions either. If there's a financial problem under section 55 for emergency delivery of something that may not happen as a result of a photo or something like that. So the report's quite self-explanatory. Both the Director of Engineering and myself will be reasonably local over the shutdown period until the 4th of January. I would still be available for LEMO work if there's, I don't think there'd be a fire, but there may be flooding and trees down. And I understand from Fiona that she's having to use more, except for a couple of days when she'll be visiting. So she's able to assist in that if required. So the report summarises that from close of business on Friday until the 11th of January, that responsibility will be shared with Fiona and the Manager of Finance and Technology, Paul Della, and then commencing from the 11th of January onwards, Riley Smith, the Chief Corporate Officer, will be acting Chief Executive. Of course, under the Act, Council's only got 12 months to replace a General Manager or CEO. Council has to make the decision today about this. Council won't be, Council will make as many changes as this as they like after today. But this is for the immediate period. Should Council decide to recruit early in the new year or whenever, as per all Council resolutions, this resolution will become redundant anyway, and Council would then place a permanent Chief Executive on. Alternatively, Council may decide to leave the acting Chief Executive position going and even roll it over, such that Council, the new incoming Council after the 4th of September, make a decision on who they want to be their Chief Executive. That will be a decision for this Council go after I'm gone. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thanks, Mr. CEO. Any questions to our CEO to do with the report? No questions. I just, before I ask the vote, I feel sorry for the three of you sitting up there. You're going to deal with me. I wish you well into the future. And no, I reckon that's great, and we're lucky to have capable staff that can help you do the CE's role in those times, and so it's all good. I mean that, I mean it. Right, all in favour of this recommendation? Against? Carried. Councillors, that's the end of our governance, environment, economy and community. We move on to reports from delegates and committees. The first one is a report from the Murray-Darling Association. It's item on page 55, your hard copy, item RC 29/20. Councillor Sawyer, being a delegate, you have to move that way?
Yes, Mayor.
Can I have a second on there, please? Councillor Berry, thank you. Councillor Sawyer, did you speak to the report?
Mr Mayor, the AGM was held by Zoom, and they had another reason why Zoom should be banned.
Fair enough. Any questions to Councillor Sawyer as a deputy mayor and delegate to the Murray-Darling Association? Councillor Bromley?
Just on the name change, proposed name change, which I know Councillor Sawyer notified us of months ago. Why is it taking so long?
Through you, Mr Mayor, the South Australians are not interested in having local government added into the name for whatever their own reasons are. As recently as Monday this week or Friday last week, I was contacted by the regional lead chair, John Campbell from Gunnedah, to ensure that Tenterfield Shire Council contacted Linda Scott and reinforced our support of the name change because they were having a board meeting. I haven't heard feedback from how that went, but most people except the South Australian end are in favour of it. It's just a process, Council.
Any other questions to Councillor Sawyer? Is that anything? Councillor Peters, yes?
Yeah, good, question to Councillor Sawyer. Was it brought up at the Murray Darling Association meeting, the missing billions of litres of water out of the river system? What happened to it? You heard anything about that?
No.
Well, they found it. I'm wondering if they found it.
We're Mickey Lakes, Councillor.
We're in the biggest drought ever, and it hasn't rained for bloody months, because recently. Where do they think the water went? It just didn't fall. Thank you.
Thank you. I shall take it up.
Any other questions, Councillor Sawyer, to do with the report? The report said to receive a note, councillors all in favour, against, carried. Councillor, page 58 in hard copy, it's item RC 30/20. It's a report from our Brock Group. It's got chair, and I'm happy to move along those lines. Can I have a second, please? Councillor Murray, thank you. And happy to take any questions, Councillor. Councillor Bromley, yes?
Just an update on Russell Way, it obviously came up on your meeting. Is there any further development?
From this council's point of view, and it's all rooted because of the support we've got from other councillors, Councillor Bromley, that it's a pretty good check, but Fiona will just add to that because we've just done a final application or something like that, Fiona, haven't we?
Yeah, just put the priority submission in the Russell Way. It's a joint submission between ourselves and Borough, more and wider. That went in last week, so
Friday?
But yes, I'm not too sure when we're going to hear the next steps on that.
And I think I did share with from a previous meeting, Councillor Bromley, the CEO and I were at the country mayors, and Peter Duncan, who's on that panel, gave a presentation to country mayors about it also. So yeah, it's just one of those lucky seconds. But thank you for asking the question. Councillors, any other questions to do with that report? All happy to receive a note? Against? Carried. Councillors, we move on to page 70. It's item RC 31/20. It's a report from the Tourism Advisory Committee. Councillor Rogan, the chairperson, you have been moving on those lines? Yes. Second, please. Councillor Tom Peters, thank you. Councillor Rogan, did you want to speak to the report?
Mr. Mayor, only that the meeting was held on the 26th of November, and there is a recommendation to follow on another notice of motion. So in the meantime, the minutes are there, and we're happy to take questions.
Any questions to Councillor Rogan, Mr. Chair, to that report? No. The report said councillors all happy to receive a note. All in favour? Against? Okay. Councillors, we move on to page 73 in your hard copy. It's item NM9/20, notice of motion. Submission to New South Wales National Park Wildlife Service regarding Mount Mackenzie Lookout area. Councillor Rogan, being the author of that notice of motion, you have been moved that way. Second, please, Councillor Berry. Councillor Rogan, I'll hand over to you to present your notice of motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The recommendation is to receive a report on the possible upgrades to the Mount Mackenzie Lookout, including the upgrade of the toilet facilities, and where possible, the partnership with National Parks and Wildlife Service with a view to enhance the visitor experience. And part two is to include in the upcoming review of the road network management plan the provision for upgrading the current access to Mount Mackenzie Lookout to a standard that will allow coaches to access the area. Now, it's been brought to the Tourism Advisory Committee's attention recently by a local operator that there's a lot of difficulty trying to get a coach or a bus up in there, particularly if there are other vehicles in that turnaround area. Also, the state of the toilet that's provided up there and the facility that involved with that isn't really up to par. I went up there yesterday and, for instance, the toilet room, it's fairly disgusting right now. It's a composting toilet. The pedestal is broken. Looks like someone's put their foot through it a couple of times. The room's full of flies, so obviously it doesn't seal real well, even though the lid was shut. It smells disgusting. There's no water or water tank attached or facility there for people to wash hands. The platform or the ramp, it's not a ramp, it's a flat walkway out from the road to the toilets. I know from personal experience when it rains, that's very slippery. I think there's no, it's probably not up to code, at least not currently. So it really needs a revamp as to try and enhance the visitor experience to that area of the toilet's just not going to do with that. It's going to take away from it. The road access, I think everyone's been up there and it's self-explanatory. If you're driving a bus, you know you have some difficulty. So buses don't really go up there at the moment. Now with 30,000 visits a year and a lot of other things going on in the community that has the potential in a short few years to come to even double that amount of visitation to tenfold, it's logical to assume that a large number of those people would want to access the local lookout. So I think it's really important as part of the future proofing post the heavy vehicle bypass that Mount Mackenzie be looked at and updated to at least provide a genuine welcoming experience to people that want to visit the lookout. So that's pretty much it. What we're asking for is to receive a report from staff in conjunction, if they have to, with National Parks, of what can be done up there, because we understand we don't know what's possible, particularly with the road reserves and all that sort of stuff. Unless we get it looked at properly in the report presented, we'll never know. So what I'm asking is that we all support this, because I believe it's important for the future proofing of the tourism goings on for Canterbury. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Rogan. Councillor Berry, being the second, who wish to speak to the motion?
Oh, sorry, Mr. Mayor, I think Councillor Rogan said everything that needs to be said, but I'd just like to add that with the toilets, research shows that if a number of people visit the toilets in a five-star facility, the toilets aren't up to scratch. Something like 95% of the women remember the toilets, and something like 80-something% of the men remember the toilets. They don't remember the other experience. So if you've got a negative set of toilets up there, you're going to have a negative experience for tourism in the whole industry.
Take those move to second speaking for the notice of motion. Any speakers against the notice of motion?
Who owns what?
That's a good question.
Because it says
Yeah,
council and
that's-
no.
So you will comment on that because we spoke about this yesterday. Councillor, good question.
Through Ms. Mayor, that's precisely why it says receive a report, because history has shown that a large percentage of our roads aren't even road reserves. What we think we own, we don't. What we don't think we don't own, we do. And it's the same for that area up there. The toilet was probably put there by National Parks, thinking that it was on their land. It might not even be on their land. We don't know. We don't know whether until we do a geometric design, we don't know how much it's going to cost to get buses up there. As soon as we do something with a toilet of our own, it's got to be compliant with modern day standards, not a drop toilet about hand washing facilities not DVA compliant. And we don't even know with National Parks, if it is their toilet, whether they're prepared to spend any money to change it. So at the moment, it's a concept. And what Councillor Rogan and I spoke about when I rang him up about the notice of motion, making sure that we didn't go off half-cocked and we actually did a thorough investigation of it, bearing in mind that it's probably in the top 5, if not the top 3 things that someone coming to town will go and do, because most people just go and look at the lookout so they get an idea of the place. Most people go to the Saddler, and most people go to most people go to the Railway Museum. So there's a few key things that people do, but the first thing that I did, or the second thing that I did when I had to go after visiting the Railway Museum was go to the lookout. I'm sure that other people do it too. So it'd be worthwhile to have those figures in there from a tourism point of view as well, this budget section as well from an engineering point of view, and a financial point of view for asset management, servicing and depreciation. Do it properly. The other point in doing it properly, it will give us the makings of a business case to be able to get grant funding through tourism and other areas to actually pay for it.
Thanks, Mr. Seager. Next big question, Councillor Bryan. So I gather there's no speakers against tonight's motion. Councillor Rogan, did you receive closing comment?
No, I think I've said it all, Mr. Management. I think it's self.
Thank you. Councillors, no motion there. All in favour? Against? Carried. Councillors, we move on to your last item in your hard copy, page 76. It's item RES 11/20. Council resolution register, 7220. Move and second here, please. Councillor Michael, quickly, thank you. Second, Councillor Gary Berry, and I thank you. I hand over to our CEO.
Through this, Mayor, happy to take questions by exception.
Any questions to do with the council resolution register for December? No? Reports there. Council notes the status. All in favour? Against? Carried. Councillors, can I have a motion to move into confidential, please? Councillor Berry, thank you. Second by Councillor Rosen. All in favour? Against? Carried.
Okay, let me just, yep, Donna's gone.
Item to be dealt with in confidential. To do, we good now?
Yep.
To do with item EC 023/20, we accept the officer's recommendation of Council Green to proceed with the sale of lot 4, Tenterfield Industrial Park, as stated in the report. To do with item COM 36/20, we accept the officer's recommendation of Council advertise 1. Advertise council's intention to enter into new lease over lots 2, 3 and 4, section 37 DP 758959 for a period of 14 days and seek any objections to the proposal. 2. Delegate authority to the chief executive to enter into a new lease over the lots 2, 3 and 4, section 37 DP 758959 for a 3-year period within a 10-year optional extension to the lease, subject to the summarised terms and conditions including the report. 3. Authorise the lease to be signed under seal of council by the mayor, chief executive, subject to no objections being received to the proposal. And to do with item EC 024/20, we accept the officer's recommendation that council proceed within the recommendations as contained within the report to finalise this matter regarding the land in question that encompasses the council constructed cycleway. And to do with item ENV 24/20, we accept the officer's recommendation that council accept the tender of Laurie Current Water Limited for the new water treatment plant for a contract price of $8,368,506, excluding GST.
And then with the rest.
Sorry, no.
And then with the one.
What do you want to do?
So there was the addition into
With
that.
the addition of this recommendation, I apologise. In accordance with the DPIE Safe and Secure Water Program, funding approval assurance reporting requirements October 2019. That was added on to the officer's recommendation. With that, councillors, I close our meeting. Mr. CEO, I wish you well into the future. Thank you so much for the last 3 years. I speak on all behalf. Disappointed as I am.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
I wish you all a safe and happy and holy Christmas and hope you family and friends. I thank you, council, for a very big year and you've been solid with what was done. So I do thank you and I close the meeting. Meeting is ended. Peace and harmony. Wish you well.
Just a chair.